What if I told you the lionsgate is a big fat lie? Because the people who were supposedly behind it, which is the ancient Egyptians, they never once mentioned anything called as the lionsgate portal in any of their texts. So who made it up and why does it all seem so real? So the Egyptians, they really did observe Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. Every year, after disappearing into the glare of the sun, Sirius would reappear just before sunrise. And around the same season, the Nile began to flood, so the Egyptians tied the star to the river, to rebirth, to renewal. You know the star, the brightest one in the sky, that belongs to a constellation you've probably not even heard of. It's called the Canis Major, the Greater Dog. That's why Sirius is commonly called as the dog star. So you know the star the Egyptians were watching was not in a lion at all, it was in a dog. So the lion's gate is built around a star from a dog. Now even the date doesn't make any sense. So the rising of Sirius, it slowly drifted against their calendar over time. So it was never permanently pinned to August 8th. It was tied to the river. So now we have the star, but where does the lion come from? Around this time of the year, the sun moves through the astrological sign of Leo, and actually the constellation of Leo is a thing of beauty. So if you look up at the sky, you're going to see a pattern of stars shaped a little bit like a backwards question mark, and that's called a sickle. And at the bottom of the curve, around the heart of the lion, sits a star called Regulus. It means little king. So now we've got Sirius, we've got Leo, we've got the heart of the lion. But how do we get from that to August 8th? Now, if you move 8 sideways, it becomes a symbol of infinity. Now, if you put 2 8s together, you've suddenly got a very powerful looking date. Now, take all those pieces of information and place them beside each other. And you have a great story that's stitched together from different pieces. Now, I'm not saying all of those pieces are necessarily false, but they weren't originally one ancient thing. Because if the history doesn't quite hold this together, why is the Lion's Gate such a powerful experience for so many people? Because the brain loves a fresh start, and psychologists call this the fresh start effect. In research, looking at millions of online searches, especially around things like dieting and exercise, they jumped, especially on New Year's Day or the beginning of a month, and sometimes even the beginning of a week. Dates with no special astronomical meaning at all. We take almost any meaningful landmark, like a birthday, a Monday, or 8/8, and we use it to tell ourselves this time is going to be different. This time, whatever I start has a special meaning to it. And then something changes internally. Applying for that dream job, you end up quitting something, or you finally have the courage to start that dream project you always wanted to. So the belief didn't change the sky, but it changed your behavior. You notice the opportunities, coincidences feel significant. Now this isn't magic, this is finally your attention being redirected towards something meaningful. So what actually happens on August 8th? A moment where possibility suddenly feels close enough to act on. So maybe the Lion's Gate works, but probably not for the reasons we've been told. And that leaves one part of the story we still haven't answered. If the ancient Egyptians, they never created the Lion's Gate portal, who did? And how did a modern idea become something millions of people now believe is ancient?